United States at Civil War. Doesn't really matter why. The whole plot of like, we're going to go and we're going to, interview the president before he gets killed. What? Like, what the fuck? Like, you have no meeting. The guy is he is the president during a civil war, like 100% locked down. Like, the idea that you're going to get in there.
Not bloody likely.
Other than the way it ends up happening, which also that, like, I'll get to that in a sec.
Sometimes when you look at a mirror long enough, you just might not recognize the person looking back at you, because we're talking movies. We're talking Civil War, starring Kirsten Dunst, Cailee, Spaeny, and Wagner, Moura. Written and directed by Alex Garland. I've never been so scared in my entire life and never felt more alive.
That's 300 Canadian. Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of How'd You Like That Movie? As Scott said, we're going to be talking about the recent release, Civil War. So, Scott, why don't you take us in?
Yeah, like, I can bury the lead, like, right away. I fucking enjoyed this movie.
Oh, good, because I absolutely did not. So this will be a fun episode.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
This movie was fucking awful. Like, it failed to do any of the things that it probably should have been doing. Yeah, lower expectations.
Okay, well, we both wanted to watch this coming out, right? Like, I think this was both on our list for movies that we talked about last year in terms of movies we want to see this year.
Yeah, and like life, I'm often let down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like, the whole time I was fucking watching this, I'm like, Kris is probably jizzing himself right now. Like, he's probably enjoying the shit out of this. Now I'm more interested. Like, I don't even want to do my opinion. I'm more interested.
You actually want my opinion now?
Yeah. I'm like, because like, this is fucking blowing me away right now.
So okay, this is going to be very straightforward. I thought the entire fucking premise, not the concept of the United States of the Civil War, but I mean, that was so paper mache, like there was almost no context to anything. And I'm guessing what they wanted is to not make it political, but outside of like what they mentioned that the president did like 3 or 4 things, like there's no, like, you don't know why there's the Civil War happening. Like, and that's important because you need it for like, who are the good guys? Is there a gray area? Like, it's just gray.
Well, you're American, okay? Okay. What kind of American are you?
But not because it's, you've set up some type of dynamic where like everybody can be good and bad depending on their position. You just didn't give them any information. It's opaque, right? Like, it's just fucking.
Yeah, from what I understand, it was 3 terms?
Which,
right?
I mean, Roosevelt did 3 terms. Well, he didn't finish his 3rd term. He died during the 3rd one. But so that's not even that is not actually uncommon in the United States.
I'm just trying to think like what they were saying, like in terms of why they were going there,
disbanded the FBI.
Yeah, disbanded the
again,
FBI.
like, does that seem like something that would cause some, like, it was a bit silly. And the fact that we just watched this movie and we can't recall it shows how unmemorable those things should be. Those extremely important points that kick off a fucking civil war. Right?
Well, I don't think, because that's the thing. Like, this film is not, it's not the beginning of the Civil War, it's the end of it. Like, it's recording the end of the Civil War. So this isn't like what's the one we watched? The Battle of Algiers, where you're watching the start of the revolution and stuff like that. This is the end.
Sure,
right?
That's great, but we're the audience and we're coming in. And I can appreciate, again, you just start in a place, but there's a way to give some exposition to your audience so they know what the fuck is going on.
When the fuck did we get ice cream?
Because that information would have been important. But that aside, that's okay, fine, okay. United States at Civil War. Doesn't really matter why. The whole plot of like, we're going to go and we're going to, interview the president before he gets killed. What? Like, what the fuck? Like, you have no meeting. The guy is he is the president during the Civil War, like 100% locked down. Like, the idea that you're going to get in there.
Not bloody likely.
Other than the way it ends up happening, which also that, like, I'll get to that in a sec. So the plot was stupid. Like that whole reason to tear like was stupid. The girl that's like, oh, I saved you, I'm not even really saved you. Get hit by a cop. Oh my God, you're a journalist too. Gives her some advice on like getting a flak jacket. Next thing you know, like she's basically by the end of the film, she's like giving up her own life for her. Like, fuck off. Like taking the old man. Say
that again. She at the end of the film, she's what?
She like gives up her own life to save Cailee and Spacey's character, right? Where she pushes her onto the ground and she gets shot. Like it was just that they take the old man because he's like, oh, I really want to go on one last rodeo. Like, give me a fucking break. The film should have been grittier. If you're gonna do Civil War, go ahead.
I was gonna say, we watched kind of not too, but yeah, we came at it totally different. Like one to me. Cailee, sorry, how do you pronounce her last name?
Is it Spaeny?
Spaeny? She was in Priscilla.
Yeah, right? Yeah, she was great in Priscilla, by the way.
To me, she was the antagonist of this whole movie.
Oh, yeah, I mean, she definitely, she 100% was.
Like, she's the villain.
Well, she's not the villain. She definitely causes chaos, but she's not a villain.
No, like, to me, she literally went in and the way I saw it was manipulated the whole scenario to become what Kirsten Dunst's character was. Like, everything was not by chance, right? Like, and if you look at the pictures, like during the course of the movie, the pictures that Cailee was doing, I don't remember what her character's name was, were all of Kirsten Dunst. First showing her in her element, taking the pictures of the dead body after that bombing attack, then her more relaxed with the dress. And the way I saw it, she went into that position so Kirsten Dunst could push her out of the way so she could get the picture of the death. Because the minute she got pushed away, she's lifting up the camera and she's taking the shots right away.
Yeah, so the character's name's Jesse. I see what you're trying to put together here. I just think that was bad writing. Like, all the things that you're weaving together was just bad writing. The character there's no way in my mind that I think the character was just foolish. She was constantly doing things because she's inexperienced and she's gung-ho. And Kirsten Dunst's character gets killed by accident, in the sense that she pushes her out of the way. But she pushes her out of the way and then stands in the fucking doorway. She could have tackled her. She could have just let her stupid ass get shot. That's the other thing. It's like these characters also haven't spent, like, especially Jesse and Kirsten Dunst's character. They haven't actually spent enough time together for those characters to care that much about each other. Sorry, her name's Lee Smith, Kirsten Dunst's character. Yeah. So she, like I said, like, there's way too much like giving a shit, and especially at the beginning when it talks, like, Kirsten Dunst kind of lays out like, I don't give a shit about you. Like, when what does she say? Something like, when your, brains are splattered all over the place or whatever, like, I'll be there to take the photo or something like that. Like, she acts like, oh, I don't care. And again, it's to give the character an arc, right? So by the end, oh my God, she's changed. She cares about this person. I'm like, but not enough time's elapsed. And again, for a veteran war correspondent, like, she talks like she's jaded, but she doesn't act like she's jaded. Like, they're freaking out during like combat operations and stuff that like they shouldn't be, because like they've been around. Even when their colleagues die, like, the overly dramatic shot where Wagner Moura, which I mean you should like because he's like Brazilian, which during the World Cup basically becomes Portugal.
Yeah, we're all one.
Yeah,
See, there is no civil war there every 4 years. We're
that's right.
all one.
That's right. Except the Brazilians don't consider you themselves Portuguese. Anyway,
If they get knocked out first, they're all on our bandwagon.
that
It's all the same.
there's that shot where after Stephen McKinley Henderson's character dies. Oh, spoiler, he dies. I mean, I'm sure you knew the big old man was going to die during the movie. And he's like raging and yelling. And again, it's a cool shot. Like you've got the armored division moving behind him. But he's like overacting that scene. And you're like, your old man colleague died from a gunshot wound in a combat zone. This would not have been the first time this happened to you. So I would have much preferred a like silent rage, like the type of thing where you're so desensitized. Like it's just,
well, they had that shot first during the getaway, right? But it wasn't for the old man, it was to the other two correspondents with Jesse Plemons, right? Because then they're in the car and it's also silent and they're looking at each other and he starts kind of rage crying, and so she starts crying as well because she had to raise up of the whatchamacallit, the mass grave. Right, so they had that silent scene that you're looking at or you're looking for, but I think no,
I'm not looking for it. I'm saying that the character, that would have made more sense for that character. The idea that the old man got shot, that's what broke him after all this other shit. That's what broke him. I mean, it didn't. It could be.
Yeah, like to me, that's not what broke him. That's what broke Kirsten.
Oh, and actually, and then what is he crying about though? They're gonna get the president before I get there. Like what? Like you're so distraught that you're like rage yelling about your friend, and the biggest part of it, and yes, I know he does tack on at the end. It's like he would have died for nothing. I'm like, fuck! I cannot believe that this is the same writer as Dos Ex Machina. Like.
What?
Alex Garland, or it's not Dos Ex Machina, Ex Machina, is a fucking insanely good movie. Men is really creepy. I didn't love Annihilation, but he also wrote like 28 Days Later and Never Let Me Go. If you've never seen Never Let Me Go, it's a really interesting dystopian film. I don't know, maybe he's just not, and I can't say he's not a good director because he directed Ex Machina. Like,
yeah, but I get what you're doing, and I think what you said too as well, like in your beginning comment, like I don't think, because this is a movie to get like the whole, it's fucking movie business, right? So A24 wants to get money, so you couldn't make it too political, though there's nods that technically fucking Offerman is Donald Trump.
Sure.
Because fucking what's his youngest son, Byron? Like you literally, when the first son gets killed, he's dressed like fucking Byron Trump, right? So, but I think that's the thing. Like they couldn't go too popular, like too in the weeds, because then you're.
And listen, I'm fine. So let's take the politics right out of it. There's a civil war. We don't know why it's happening. And this is not even just my quote. Over the quotes that I was reading, a common theme of there are many zombie movies that just do dystopian future way better than this. Whether it's Romero or even 28 Days Later, like for a country that's been at civil war for this long, like it really didn't feel that fucked up. And like the stuff that it does show like a breakdown in society is like, they hang some dudes at a gas station. There's a mass grave. There's a forest on fire for some reason. And even that, like, again, there's some really cool cinematography there. But as the old man is like, I think he's already been shot then, right? And he's like laying and glazing, staring up at the fucking forest fire. It's like, have you never seen fire before? It reminds me, there's this classic shot of Hillary and Bill Clinton. I think it's during the primaries or whatever. And the balloons come down from the sky, and both of them, like, they make the most ridiculous look, like they've never seen balloons before. Like, oh, that's what as soon as I saw that guy's look, I'm like, have you never seen fire before? Like, everybody's in so awe at this fire. Like, yeah. Again, and so, but there's not a lot of like, there's a big combat operation at the end. You show the suicide. So again, there's some decent set pieces. So the suicide bomber on the water truck, that was cool.
Mhm.
I thought that was super cool. I thought the thing with Jesse Plemons, like that whole scene, that was kind of cool. And I do think that the combat operations at the very end, those were kind of cool. Stuff I didn't like around that type of stuff too was even, okay, so they show up with and meet these like random insurgents, right? And the insurgents are like trying to like clear a stairwell, and they've got these fucking guys with like their cameras like right on their ass. That would not be fucking happening. It'd be like, first off, remember, normally when you get embedded, whether you're embedded with the Taliban or you're getting embedded with like an allied, like a conventional military force or something, you don't just like roll up. You're like, hey, I'm Kris.
My name is Jeff. It's Jefe, man.
I'm going to take some fucking photos around here. Like, it doesn't work that way. Like,
Wow.
you got to know some people. You got to get in with them. Like, it shows the embedded reporters with the, essentially the American army, or the loyalist army. That makes sense. But these guys are like random fucking insurgents. And then these insurgents are letting them basically be like right on top of them. Like, also, even the way they were shooting their cameras, I was like, it looked ridiculous. Like there's gunshots going all over the place. Instead of just like shooting photos like a normal person, they're like getting on top of stuff. And like, listen, I'm so sure what somebody's going to reach out and be like, well, that's how it's actually done. Well, it looks really stupid on cinema. Like there was a lot of stupid action being taken by these photojournalists. And of course, the chick is using film just because that's a cool retro throwback. Talk about her dad, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that chick is fucking firing off film. Like bam, 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 bam. Like you'd think that she was shooting on a digital camera. I don't think I ever said, like, I saw her develop film and I never saw her like put film in her camera.
How do you do that?
Oh, magic.
So I don't know where she's carrying all this bulky ass film that she's just like rocking and rolling fucking film all the time. Anyway, my rant's over.
I was gonna say, I think she had some pouches. But yeah, like to me, I enjoyed it. And
that is evident. That is totally evident.
Yeah. Like I enjoyed it. Like everything. And it's funny because everything you're saying
is why you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's why I enjoyed it. Right. But and that because I saw it completely different. Like I watched it with my oldest, and she enjoyed it as well. And then we literally had a conversation, and I'm like, this, like, the thing that I enjoy with sci-fi is you can make these comments on our modern society, and not really be beholden to them because it's fucking sci-fi, right? You put the story further enough ahead in which, you know, if it happens, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. But
yep.
In reality, like the way our world is going.
Sorry, okay. So you're actually this is a great jumping off point for another issue I had with this. So you said that sci-fi lets you, like, you know, talk about an issue or whatever. So what issue did they talk about in this movie? What was the actual issue other than Civil War? Oh, I air quoted for anybody who's just listening.
No, I think this issue is something that started a while ago, where it's the decentralization of an institution, of the press. You know, fake news is a common term now, right? Like we are 1, 2 maybe steps over the cliff in which democracy is just done, because everything's now fake. If your side doesn't win, it's because it was stolen.
Yeah, if people don't actually listen to this podcast, it's fake. It's because somebody stole it.
No, but like, I don't like getting political. You're the more political guy, but it is, and that's what, and that's kind of what the story was going. Like when they start, the Western side right? Which
is California and Texas, which also makes no fucking sense.
yeah, I thought the same thing. I'm like, oh, man, I really wouldn't think these guys would have been, and Florida was part of it too. I'm like, man, this doesn't seem
Although
like
my friend Michelle, that you know as well, brought up an interesting point because we saw this film together. She said maybe the reason California and Texas are both in alliance is the president or whatever did separate things that both pushed them, right? So they did something that pushed Texas over the edge. They did something that pushes California. And it's almost like my enemy's enemy is my friend. And so it's like a temporary alliance. And they do make a really short reference to like, once they take the capital, they'll turn on each other, right? So
yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
Yeah. Sorry. And then but that's the thing, like that side, the Western Front, you know, it was all for the press. They're willing to work with the press. When they said they were driving down
to DC, they were like, they shoot the press on site in the Capitol.
Right, which at no point we saw that because they went pretty in.
Which like, I think that, so actually, as you say that, you know, it would have been a great scene as if they first are like when they're rolling into DC, if they showed like reporters hanging from like lampposts with like fake news trader or something like that, like around their neck. Like that would have been a really ominous kind of like aesthetic.
Yeah, but the only time we see press is with the Western side, right? Like the
what I mean is like when the Western forces are entering the Capitol, it would have been cool for them to show like journalists like having been hung from like lamps or something like that. Like,
yeah, are you? That, like, I was gonna say, are you familiar with what's his name? Jim Johnson, Jim Jeffries, the Raven, the guy who made everybody drink the Kool-Aid.
Oh yeah. Down in South America or whatever.
Yeah.
It's Jim Jones, I believe. It's
Jim Jones, yes.
Jim Jeffries, I think, is a comedian.
Well, maybe he makes people drink fucking Kool-Aid. How do you know?
That's right. I mean, before we started the show, you were giving me
I was talking about drinking Kool-Aid.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Jim Jones.
But and that was kind of the thing that they were showing, like when they're talking about this president that Offerman was portraying, that he incited and just grouped together his followers, that they kind of became a cult. And then when they're in the East Side, right, it seemed like all media was cut off completely. The only kind of thing you heard in terms of news reports or anything like that was his radio broadcasts that were telling a story that was completely different than what was happening, right? Because when you hear him in the radio, he's saying they're getting ready to the Western side's getting ready to
surrender.
Yeah, to surrender, and we're gonna welcome them back, and we're gonna be one United States, right? And that's the thing, and that's what Jim Jones would do as well. He had his radio broadcasts, and he would just be technically narrating his own story of what's happening to world in current times.
Sure. None of that has to do with like what makes this film good. It definitely has almost nothing to do with like what makes this film good.
I fucking hate you.
And this just in, you can go fuck yourself.
I know you do. I know you do.
Like, I try to use real world aesthetics that, like, I think this is what he, and this is what I think this is what he's trying to do. He's trying to say, like, this guy's like a cult leader.
I agree with you. I agree that that's what the president is, but I mean, that's like, you basically just described the character. Like, I don't know. I don't see how that really plays into the qualities of this film. I mean, I came out of this film and I like messaged people I know and I was like, don't watch this movie in the theater. Like, don't watch this movie. Do not waste your money. Do not waste your time. So wait till it comes out on streaming service, and then just watch the last 30 minutes.
I apologize. This is A24's most expensive movie, right? 50 million.
50 million. So far, it's done 26, but I think it just opened, right? Like by the time this episode drops, it'll be like going into its second weekend. So
it seems like it's gonna make its money back.
Well, and I mean, I am offside of everybody on this one. Like the critics have it at 83, audience has it 77%. I am offside of both groups, which happens sometimes. I mean, I can't be. I'm just smarter than everybody. So.
Yeah, good one. I was gonna say because it usually seems like I'm in line with everybody. So what does that say? I'm more of a follower, not a leader, eh?
I guess so, man. Or either that or you're smarter than I am. So you're like next level.
Yeah. But so let's rewind this.
And not this movie because I don't want to watch
No. Well, maybe. Okay, so let's say you go a little bit different. A24 is going to you. They bring you this script. What would you like?
What would I change?
Yeah, what would you change? Because I think runtime was well done.
Yeah, I mean, the runtime. If this was any longer, I probably would have just got up and left. So yeah, right off the bat. So first off, I would the young character. I would have had her already with them. Like any of your characters, I'd already have them together. They've already been shooting this thing forever. And because then you understand like why they care about each other, right? Like then if there's any type of like crazy acts of heroism, it's because they've been around. Like, hey kid, I've gotten you this far, I'm gonna get you to the Capitol. You know what I mean? Like that kind of mentality. I would have had it like way more like.
Okay, wait. So I'm gonna compare and contrast, right? So okay, so they're all together. So it's not like sorry, I'm having. It's
not a brand new addition to the team. You know what I mean?
Well, no, I was gonna say who's the Nestor or Wagner Moura. What's his character's name? Joel. So it's not Joel getting super drunk at the hotel of the press trying to hit on her and to impress her. He's like, all right, you can come.
Yeah, that doesn't really work for me. Also, I found that all very cringy because they like, oh, she's 20. They make her look really young. Like really, like I thought she was like 17 or 18 until they were said like, oh, she's 22. You were doing the same thing at this age. Like the actual actress looks older without whatever they did to make her look even younger. So it was like borderline like pedo kind of action, which I was like, that's not endearing. Like you're not making me care about this male character at all. And maybe that's the point. He's supposed to be like a rogue or something. Then make the other actor not quite as young. Because that part was always like, bleh, in my mouth. So yeah, I would have had them as like a team that's already kind of been doing stuff. They've been covering the Civil War, and give them like a more logical reason to be getting into DC, not to fucking try and get a random interview with the president. I would have showed much more like devastation, like how bad things are getting. So kind of like that opening scene with the water, I would have shown more of that stuff, right? Like the breakdown of all the services and stuff like that. Just like how desperate people are. Yeah, I would definitely start there. I ditch the old man. That was fucking stupid. It was the dumbest. It was almost like he was put in there so that when they talk about basically mock him for not being able to run, but he saves them in the one scene because he drives the truck. And it's like, come on, seriously? Also, and maybe I'm wrong, are journalists in combat zones not allowed to fucking ever carry firearms? Like they're not medics. And even if like I'm not supposed to, after the whole Jesse Plemons situation, I would be picking up those M16s or AR-15s.
Well,
like fuck that. I'm not this running around like I'm only gonna have my camera for protection. Fuck that noise. If that is something photojournalists do, that fucking sucks.
That is, and I wish, like, I do hope one day we do get to speak with a correspondent,
like a war correspondent.
Yeah, because even when they were showing like Chris, like doing the flashbacks about how hardcore Kirsten Dunst was and whatever other war.
Yeah, it looked like she was in like Somalia and some other places.
Something like that. Yeah. The fact that, because you have your vest that says press, just means you can literally go 2 feet from a guy being lit on fire while they're posing for you. And no one does anything. Like no one's attacking you. And it was the same thing in this one. Like they literally walk up to Jesse Plemons after realizing, hey, they kidnapped these people. They just walk up to him and like, hey, we're press. Just what's going on.
Well, and right? Even the car scene that leads up to that, like what was the point of that scene? Like I know the point is to get one character into the other character's car. That's like that seemed ridiculous. Like, again, we're in a civil war. We're doing this stuff. It's super dangerous, but we're fucking around like that. Again, maybe this is something that adrenaline junkies do. I was like, oh, they're doing the scene from Footloose.
I was like Fast and the Furious 6. Tokyo Drift. I don't know. But yeah, like to me, I would recommend this movie. I would say go watch it because I do think it has a story to say, and a warning that, like I said, like you got to look in the mirror because pretty soon we're not going to realize who's looking back at us if we're not able to communicate, even though we have differing opinions. Like, because if that was the case, I don't think this podcast would go 4 years.
So as much as I agree with that sentiment, none of that is encapsulated by this film. And so I'm going to leave off with my quote because this quote says literally what I want to say, but better than I do. So Valerie Complex from Deadline Hollywood had this to say: the film's execution, hampered by thin characterization, a lackluster narrative, and an over-reliance on spectacle over substance, left me disengaged.
And that is our wrap for the day. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends. If you want to get a hold of us, reach us at the www.howdyoulikethatmovie.com.
Like the best part of that film, one of the best parts of the film was when he's like, $300, that gets you a sandwich. It's 300 Canadian. I actually was like, woo! I think I actually said finally, and like the theater started laughing or whatever. But after that, I was like, okay, I'm good. That was my money shot.
That was my money.
Production by Rod Shaver, Vader Monkey Productions.